Hi, this shoe with a review of the Puma Rise Nitro. This is the shoe made popular with mclung, a G Leaguer that won the Slam Dunk contest in the All-Star weekend. The shoe, Puma has been making strides with All Pro was a very revolutionary shoe in terms of proving to everyone that Puma can make serious, good basketball shoes. MB0102 was pretty good, but it seemed like it was kind of plateauing after dipping a little bit in the models in between the All Pro and the MB01. This is feels a lot similar to the MB01 and O2. The MB01 and O2 has nitro foam on the heel. O2 has nitro foam on the forefoot. It's just a tiny little. It's like the Lunarlon they use in the 2008 Nike models. You can barely feel it, and depending on your fortune or misfortune, the foam may not be as forgiving. You may not be able to feel it as much as some other models. It's like kind of random. So quality control, I think, not for nitro foam. I think they're pretty consistent, but they use like tiny amounts. This one, it's just in the heel. The MB01 had just one nitro foam on the heel and nothing on the forefoot, but it felt pretty even Steven. MB02 had nitro foam on the heel and the forefoot, but you felt like MB01 was better. So yeah, for this one, the heel is just as good, if not better than the MB01s and 2s in terms of shock absorption and bounciness somewhat. But on forefoot, it feels pretty mediocre. It feels like there's nothing much there. But there's a minimal amount of like EVA foam that's doing a pretty decent job. And if you combine it with this super thick ortholite insole that the shoe comes with, you feel the cushioning is fairly low to the ground but soft. So I think there's a little bit of foam here that interacts, or I suppose it works in tandem nicely with a decent insole you put in the shoe. Because some shoes, even if you put like thicker insoles, you don't feel much in the forefoot. Like the most recent bad example I can give you is the Luka one. That is a very, very crappy shoe in terms of cushioning. You basically have nothing on the forefoot. You're like wearing a Converse All-Star. Not the basketball shoe, but the casual shoe. So this, not too bad, but not as good as the MB0102 in terms of forefoot cushioning. Still not too bad, but yeah, a little bit lacking. Size, 9.5. It weighs about 400 grams, but yeah, that's pretty heavy for a pretty minimal foam cushion shoe. I don't know where the weight is coming from. Possibly because of all the padding. It's very heavily padded all around. Because of the padding, maybe because of the padding, the shoe feels very like it runs short and runs narrow. So you gotta go at least half a size up. It feels very suffocating. So it's not very breathable. It's very tight. If you like that foamy tightness, maybe you like this shoe. But yeah, that fit is an issue for me. And the toe box area is like knit and all flimsy, but the lace loop only starts from this part. The lace loop, interestingly, it looks smooth and seamless, but this is all rubber band elastic material. You can just pull it and lace the shoe up. So it's not problematic like the Adidas shoes or some of the Nike models where this is covered up and you gotta like put your finger in there to lace it up a little bit, like the Jordan 19 also had the problem until it had the SE version out. So yeah, this looks nice, but it's inconvenient. The padding also around the heel, it's very plush, but at the same time, I feel like there's some dead space and some heel slippage in the shoe. Even though the shoe feels smaller than, it feels like it runs short and narrow, the heel containment is a bit lacking. Depending on the shape of the heel, it could vary, but personally for me, it felt a little insecure, just as bad, if not worse, than the LeBron 20s. The foam that's used, again, I've talked about that. The EVA foam is pretty decent. Again, the forefoot is a little bit lacking. Considering the fact that you don't have any plastic hindrance that's providing a challenge to the cushioning that you might feel. The plastic plate is right here nearby the outsole, so this is not hindering the cushioning. So the foam itself is very minimal, or the density is an issue on the forefoot. The forefoot cushioning is my biggest issue with this shoe, also with the heel slippage and the viewer fit and the lockdown. And also, if you look at it, it looks like it has a huge midsole that works as an outrigger, but it's not all there. It's not as secure. It could have been, I suppose, wider or bigger, but this is a bit inadequate. Not as bad as the LeBron 15, but for a shoe that's not boasting, screaming that it's got great cushioning, then it should actually do more about the lateral stability. So this is a little disappointing as well. The traction, it's an interesting thing they did. Side to side movement, the traction is fantastic. But as you can tell by the pattern, when you're moving forward, backward, stepping this direction, it kind of flows and you kind of feel a little bit of a slippage. Not terrible, but especially when you're feeling that glue-like traction that bites the cord side to side when you're moving side to side, and then suddenly there's this relatively slipperier, relatively mediocre traction when you're moving forward and backward. You feel, yeah, the disparity is something you can feel. It's very large and you can feel it. So yeah, the price point, I personally find it's a problem. Why does it cost more than the MBO 1s and 2s? It's pretty expensive. It's like $150, I think. So what the hell are they thinking? Yeah, they could have done better. I like the design overall, but in terms of functionality, other than the heel cushioning, there's really nothing much I can say about this shoe that's a step up from the previous model. If given a choice between MBO 1 and this, I would definitely get the MBO 1. If you can't get the MBO 1s and you're thinking about getting this, keep in mind of all the flaws that I just described to you. Lacking traction compared to MBO 1, lacking forefoot cushioning compared to MBO 1.